Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. Today we are going to be talking about The Silent Tide, and it's a thriller novel.
Mm.
And this isn't just your typical murder mystery. We're going to be looking at like a lot more than just trying to figure out who did it. We're going to be going deep into this coastal town where it seems like there's a lot of secrets.
Yeah, and I think what really stood out to me when I first started reading this book was just the way the author uses all these details.
Yeah.
They just make you feel uneasy right away, like from the very beginning.
Yeah, for sure. And like right away, the book starts off with this flashback to this fire at the Cedar Cannery back in 1995.
Oh, yeah.
And Leela Grant, who's 12 at the time, she sees the whole thing. And the author like really describes everything,
Mm.
the smoke and how the flames are like crackling and everyone's like shouting. It's like you're right there with her, like you're feeling all the chaos and you're scared too. But I think it's like more than just describing things.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's definitely due to some foreshadowing, too. Like right away, Leela sees her dad. He's the town sheriff, and he's arguing with the guy who owns the cannery about some barrels that are hidden. And then, boom, the fire starts. So it makes you wonder, like, was this really an accident or was it, something planned? And what does all of that mean for what's happening now?
Right, exactly. It's like the author is setting us up for something big. And I love how they connect everything like that. And then fast forward to present day. And we meet Maggie Cole. She's this marine biologist, and she ends up dead. But it's not just any death. She's found in a crab trap with her mouth sewn shut. I mean, that's just crazy.
Yeah, it's an intense image, right? Like it really sets the tone for the whole book.
Yeah.
And I think the author's using some symbolism here. The crab trap is supposed to catch and hold things.
Right.
And it's almost like it's representing how Maggie's voice was silenced.
Yeah.
And then you have this locket she's wearing. It's covered in barnacles. And it just makes you think about all the secrets this town has been hiding for years.
Right. Wow, I didn't even think about that. But that's so true. The author definitely thought about every detail. And remember, she was carrying a notebook. It had all these codes and stuff in it and talked about illegal things happening and some kind of chemical spill.
Oh, yeah. That notebook is going to be important.
Yeah.
It makes you think Maggie was onto something big, something that maybe got her killed.
Okay, so we have a murder. We have a creepy town with a creepy vibe. And there are hints that there's a conspiracy going on.
Huh.
So now let's talk about the suspects. First up, we have Ethan Hale. He's Maggie's ex-boyfriend.
Right.
Classic scorned lover. He has a history of anger issues. And he lost his fishing license, too. So he's definitely someone to look at. But then we have Mayor Clara Voss.
Yeah.
And her motive is totally different. It's not about revenge. It's about power and getting ahead.
Right.
Maggie was doing all this research about pollution, and that was messing with the mayor's plans to build a resort. So that's definitely a conflict of interest.
Yeah.
What do you think about that, going from a personal reason to something bigger that affects the whole town?
It's smart, I think. It makes the mystery bigger. It's not just about one person being mad at Maggie. It makes you wonder if there's corruption and a cover-up happening in the town. Like, who can you really trust, and how far will people go to protect themselves?
That's a good point. It's like everyone is connected somehow. It's like the author is creating this web and like all the characters are connected. And if you pull on one, it affects everyone else. But then there's Dr. Patel, the town doctor. He was treating Maggie for depression,
Oh, right.
and he would have been able to get that fentanyl that they used to knock her out. I mean, is the author trying to make us think everyone in this town could have done it?
Well, I don't think it's that everyone is suspicious, but we should be thinking about how everyone fits in, you know?
Yeah.
The author is really good at using those red herrings,
Yeah.
like those clues that throw you off.
Yeah.
Dr. Patel seems suspicious at first, but maybe his part in all of this is just to show that Maggie was vulnerable,
Mm.
with her mental state. It doesn't mean he killed her. I think it's all about those little details, and how they all connect.
Right. It's like those optical illusions where you can see something one way and then it changes depending on how you look at it.
That's exactly.
And we can't forget about Leela Grant. She was Maggie's friend when they were little.
Yeah.
But now she's kind of a loner. And her paintings, especially the ones of that gray lady, they're starting to feel more real. They're predicting the future. What do you think about Leela?
I think she's an interesting character because she's watching everything happen, but she's also part of it too. Her paintings, they might seem abstract, but they kind of reflect what's happening in the story,
Yeah.
like symbolically. It's like she knows deep down that there's something dark going on in her town, even though it seems peaceful.
Yeah.
And that gray lady, she's like a legend in the town, right?
Right.
I think she represents all the secrets the town is hiding
Yep.
and what happens when those secrets come out.
Oh, I like that. It adds like another whole level to the story. And then there's Finn Murphy. He's this teenager with a troubled past. and he was somehow connected to that fire at the cannery. He's working on Maggie's boat, and his past is a total mystery. And his foster dad, who's the retired sheriff, and Leela's dad. It seems like he's trying to protect Finn from something. It feels like Finn is carrying a lot of baggage.
Yeah, Finn is interesting because he kind of represents how secrets and trauma can keep happening over and over. You know, he's haunted by what happened in the past.
Yeah.
And the town is haunted by the fire and everything that happened after. The author is showing us that the past never really goes away. It affects who we are and the choices we make.
And then just when you think you're starting to understand everything, bam, Finn ends up dead.
Oh, wow.
And it looks like suicide.
Yeah.
But it's kind of similar to Maggie's death, you know, like with the fishing line and the cannery being involved. What do you make of that?
This is where the story changes, I think.
Yeah.
It goes from focusing on individuals to being about a bigger conspiracy. Finn dying raises the stakes. Like someone is trying to keep people quiet. Anyone who might know the truth about what happened both now and in the past.
Yeah.
And the cannery, it's already mysterious, but now it's even more important to the story.
It's like the cannery is a character itself, holding on to all these secrets. And then Claire and Leela decide to go check it out. And what they find is huge. They find these documents hidden in the walls that prove someone was illegally dumping mercury.
Wow.
This changes everything. Now it's not just about who killed Maggie and Finn. It's about who let this happen, who allowed this toxic waste to poison the town and the people who lived there for all these years. It makes you think about what happens in real life, you know?
Mm-hmm.
How often do we see communities hurt by pollution and cover-ups, people in charge choosing money over people's lives?
Exactly.
Yeah.
The book really makes you think about these big issues. It makes you think about staying silent and what it means to be complicit. Like, who knew about the mercury and why didn't they say anything? How did greed and ambition lead to this tragedy?
And then it gets even crazier. We find out that Leela's dad, the former sheriff, he was in on it the whole time. He was trying to protect the town's secrets, even if it meant people had to die.
It's interesting because the sheriff isn't really a bad guy. He truly believes that he's doing what's best for the town, even if he's doing something really wrong.
It's like the saying, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. But it really makes you think, how far would you go to protect your family, your town, your whole way of life?
That's the big question the book is asking, I think. There's no easy answer. It makes you think about right and wrong and what it means to be loyal. The sheriff represents those tough choices that people have to make when they feel like there's no other way out.
Yeah, it's like all those secrets, all that poison, it pushed him over the edge. You know, it makes you think about how the things we do affect other people even years later, like how far those ripples go. But the story doesn't end there. The author keeps building the tension as the truth starts to come out. And then there's this storm. And it traps Claire and Leela at the cannery with the killer. And the final showdown is intense.
What do you think about how the author wrote that whole climax? I think the storm was really smart. It's like it's mirroring what's going on inside the characters, you know, the wind, those waves crashing against the cannery. It just makes everything more suspenseful, more dangerous.
Yeah.
And the way the author uses those flashbacks to the night of the fire, it's like the past is finally catching up to the present.
Yeah, it's like everything comes full circle. And then after everything comes out, there are consequences. People go to jail. The town's fishing industry, which was like the heart of Cedar Hollow, it gets destroyed. The truth comes out, but it costs a lot. There's no happy ending, is there?
No, not really. And that's what makes it so powerful. You know, the author doesn't try to sugarcoat anything. It's messy. You can feel the loss, the broken trust, and there's this feeling that things will never really be the same. The town has to face its past and try to rebuild after all these secrets came out.
But what about Leela? What happens to her after everything is revealed? I kept thinking about her and how she deals with learning all of this about her dad and her town and her own childhood.
Well, the book ends with this really powerful image. Leela is standing at the gates of the cannery. It's abandoned now. And she takes that locket, the one covered in barnacles, and she puts it on the gate. It's like a symbol, you know? Is she letting go of the past? Or is she connecting Maggie's death to the town's secrets forever? I think the author wants us to decide what it means.
It's like she's choosing to remember to acknowledge the darkness, but to keep going. It's a strong ending to a story that deals with so much. You know, environmental destruction, people abusing power, family loyalty. It's complicated. We started this deep dive trying to solve a murder, but we ended up talking about so much more.
It's been great breaking all this down with you. The Silent Tide is one of those books that stays with you. It makes you think about the world and what's really going on beneath the surface. It makes you think about the choices we make and what they mean for everyone.
Yeah, I'm going to be thinking about this one for a while. And I'll definitely be reading more from this author. They know how to write a good mystery with characters that pull you in. If you want a book that's going to keep you on the edge of your seat and make you think The Silent Tide is for you, but be careful. It might make you start wondering about the secrets in your own town.
And that's it for this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep diving deep.